What's up, gamers? Welcome to the video. My name is Koobs, and today I wanted to take a look at Off the Grid, which is a brand new free-to-play battle royale that's currently in early access. You can find this on PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series S and X. I've spent about 20 to 25 hours with the game over the course of the last 2 weeks, so I figured I would just kind of share my thoughts on some of the things that I think the game is doing well, some things I think that they could improve upon, and then we'll also take a look at the marketplace and monetization strategy, different things like that. But thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy. I've been having a lot of fun with this game so far. I think that the direction that they're going in with the cyber system is really kind of cool and interesting. Basically, each of your limbs, your left arm, your right arm, and your legs are attachable mechanical components that have different abilities. And so there's a wide range of offensive and defensive capabilities, things like shields and grappling hooks and rocket launchers for your arms, recon drones, stealth camouflage, different things like that. And then for your legs, you can get like a jump thrusters, the ability to run faster, which has been one of my favorites. They're called the Roadrunner legs, and you can see them here. You just move really quickly, different things like that. And I think that this is a really fun addition to the typical battle royale genre, because it adds a lot of diversity and creativity in your skill expression when you're playing the game. The game is in third person for the most part, but there are some weapon attachments like scopes that allow you to go into first person when you're aiming. And overall, I like what they've done with the game as far as the respawn system works. So when you get into a game, for about the first 5 minutes or so, it might be a little bit longer, but there is basically an unlimited respawn window that's open for all players. As long as you have one player alive on your team still, then you basically go on a 45-second timer after you die, and after that timer is up, then you drop back in, you can loot up, and continue playing. And then once that unlimited respawn window closes, then you can spend the in-game currency that you get. I believe they're called RIPs, and you can go to a revive station and bring your teammates back, which I think is really quite nice. In this clip here, we can see I've had one of my arms blown off, which is, again, a really kind of interesting twist on things, and I just use a self-revive shot. So things like that are in the game, pretty standard stuff. Here, I kind of missed my landing, and my legs came off. So I really kind of like this interesting addition to to the genre. You could kind of target your enemy's limbs to more or less take away some of their tactical advantages. There's also a redeploy backpack that you can get, which is like an in-game item that you'll find looting, and that'll allow you to just drop right back in afterwards after being eliminated. So a lot of things that kind of keep you in the game, keep things nice and fast-paced. There's different objectives around the map that you can pick up that'll reward you again with the in-game currency, so that you can spend that on loadouts or spend that on reviving your teammates. Different things like bounty hunts, or kind of like a scavenger hunt, more or less. It'll tell you to find a certain item in a different region and things like that. So I think that there's a lot going on in the game aside from just go find the enemies and eliminate them so that you can be the last one standing. And I think that that sort of diversity is really kind of nice and appreciated. I do want to touch on some of my criticisms here, though. The first one being to get into a game. So typically in the menu, you're spending about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to find a match. And then once you're in that match, then you go to a pregame lobby. And you can spend upward of 5 minutes, maybe even more, in the pregame lobby while the game is looking to fill the match. Typically, when you get into the pregame lobby, the game's already filled with about 48 players, and the max capacity is 60. So it's looking to have 20 teams of 3, and I feel like if they kind of just cut that down a little bit, then maybe it would lead to shorter queue times, and you would be able to get into games more frequently, which would be nice. There are some issues with players disconnecting before the match even starts. It won't necessarily fill that spot on your team, so then you're just left with 2 people on your squad, which is a little bit inconvenient. And another criticism that I have, which I don't necessarily know how much they could change this, is the commentary. So basically there's two voices for commentary. There's a male voice who's kind of like the commentator, and then there's also this female AI voice. I think that the female AI voice is pretty good because it's just direct. Here's what's going on. Your teammate has been downed. Your hex has been extracted. You're critically wounded. Your armor has been restocked. Different things like that. The male voice is is kind of over the top. A lot of swearing, a lot of dumb jokes that once you've heard them 2 or 3 times, they don't quite land in the same way. But that's not necessarily something that I know that they can go back and make adjustments to. I have had some issues with the game just kind of freezing up in the main lobby or when loading in. Again, it's in early access. Some of those things could be excused. But one problem that I have noticed pretty consistently is when you go into your inventory to drop items, when you press the button to drop the item, it'll kind of take you back up to the top of the inventory list. And so if you're just trying to kind of quickly drop some ammo that doesn't match up to your weapon type, if you're just spamming the button, you could end up dropping one of the weapons that you have and that you actually need. And I think that they could just kind of work on some optimization in some of those areas. But overall, those are some minor issues that I've come across. I think that before they, do a full release, they could kind of hammer out some of these things. The next thing I want to talk about is the Hex System. So the Hex System is basically an extraction element that they've added into the game. When you're going around looting for your gear, you'll sometimes come across a hex. Each player on the team can hold 1 hex at a time, and once you have a hex, you have to take it to a hex extractor. When you extract the hex, then you'll have basically an item outside of the game that in the lobby you can open up using the in-game currency. I think they're calling it gun. I'm just going to refer to it as bucks. So you can use your bucks to decode the hexes that you extract. When you take it to an extractor, there will be a timer between like 45 seconds and 1.5 minutes that you have to wait in order to fully extract that hex. And enemy players can come to that area and hack your hex extraction and then steal your loot for themselves, more or less. So that's basically what's going on here in the background. I have basically there's a server that you have to attack. Once you attack the server, then you can go up to the extractor and you can hack it, and then it'll reverse the cooldown basically, or the countdown rather. So it'll start counting backwards until that hex pops out. You pick it up for yourself, and then you can extract it for yourself. The nice thing about the hex extraction is that everybody on the team will get one of the hexes. So if one player extracts a hex, there are different rarities. So let's say I extract a green hex. Everybody's getting a green hex when we end the game. Here we just picked up a blue hex. We're going to try to extract that. Then the different rarities, align with different rarities outside of the game as far as cosmetics go and as far as weapons go for your loadouts. If you're familiar with a battle royale, you kind of know that there's like tiers to the weapons that you're using. So white, green, blue, and purple. And like purple's typically the best. And so if you have a purple hex, it's definitely worth a lot to you. Outside of the game, like I mentioned, you can unlock the hexes. That'll give you a random item that you can use for a loadout, or it'll be a cosmetic item, whatever it might be. I think that this is a really nice system. It kind of incentivizes and encourages you to engage with the game. When you find out that an enemy team is extracting a hex, you can go to that location and try to take it from them. So it's just kind of encouraging you to fight with other players, which I think is kind of nice. And it's always nice to have some sort of extra incentive to chase after in a game like this. I think it'll add a lot to the longevity of the game as far as they can continue to release new weapons and new cosmetic items and things like that. Alright, now I want to shift gears a bit and I want to talk about Off the Grid Pro, which is basically like their battle pass. It's a little bit different than some other battle passes because of the incentives that they're providing for you. But I do think that it's a little bit misleading in some senses, and I do want to urge some caution when it comes to picking up the Off the Grid Pro. The first thing that I want to touch on is the fact that this is actually a subscription that you're signing up for. So if you don't necessarily know that when you're purchasing Off the Grid Pro, you are signing up for a subscription that will renew automatically unless you cancel it. So that's something that I think is very important for you to know ahead of time going into this. I'm not saying that it's not worth your money. I think that you're welcome to spend your money however you see fit. Just know that they are going to, if you have like a debit card set up for your account, they'll automatically charge you for the next cycle of Off the Grid Pro. It does have some interesting incentives in the fact that you earn more of the bucks that I mentioned, which you can spend outside of the game in the marketplace. You'll be rewarded with like 500 bucks to begin with, but you also get like 5 times the amount of bucks when you end a game. So that can kind of help you, get different items for your loadout or different cosmetic items and things like that. It'll also give you some extra loadout slots, which I don't necessarily think is the greatest incentive. You have 3 loadout slots to begin with, and I don't really personally use loadouts a whole lot, but they are part of the game. So if you're somebody who likes to have a specific weapon, maybe a shotgun or a sniper on you, then the loadout system will definitely work for you. But one of the other things is that it gives you access to selling items in the marketplace. So everybody can buy items from the marketplace. So if there's a specific item that you're after, you can go to the marketplace and you can use the bucks that you've accumulated to purchase these items. And sometimes you'll find something that's being sold by another player who has Off the Grid Pro, and they're selling an item in the marketplace, in the in-game store essentially. So here, this is a hat that I've been kind of saving towards. Right now, somebody who's an actual player at the top of the list here, they're selling this hat for 40 bucks. And then there are some listings here that are actually, I think, like pre-made accounts that just kind of help keep items in the economy, more or less. And so I can pick up this item once I have enough bucks, and then I'll have that item for my character. Overall, I think that the marketplace is a welcomed addition. It allows you to kind of seek out the different cosmetic options or weapon options, customization elements for your loadout that you're particularly interested in. So I do think that that's kind of nice, and it doesn't seem like there's currently a way to just outright buy bucks. You can sign up for the Off the Grid Pro, which will give you some bucks and allow you to earn more bucks. And then, of course, you can sell things for more bucks. But you can't just like put $10 into the game in order to get a bunch of bucks, if that makes sense. I did want to briefly mention that if you're looking for this game in the PlayStation Store, if you go to the free-to-play section, regardless of if you sort by old to new or new to old in terms of release date, it's going to be at the bottom of the page. I think this has to do with it being in early access. But if you just type in off in your search bar, it'll come up pretty easily for you, so you can check it out that way. Overall, I think that this is a pretty solid and fun interpretation of the Battle Royale genre. I'm excited to see what they've got coming in the future. I hear that they want to add some PvE elements, so having some enemies on the map that aren't other players. And I also hear that they might try to get the game up to 150 players in a game at a time. But that'll all be kind of things that we have to see over time. Give it a shot for yourself. Hopefully you enjoy it. Thanks again so much for being here. I have been and always will be Coobs. Peace and love, gamers.